good reminder. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Hello again. We had a little interruption. We had a little interruption of our communication line, but we are back here again. And I was telling Joe that I am doing my production and I'm writing my book and I'm putting all these chapters together. And what I'm doing is asking Joe to go back to the 1960s with me and remember those days on the projects that Chicago put together, all those projects for the homeless, the poor, and the people that needed homes. They were dismantling parts of the city and they were building new homes. And everybody was gung-ho for the project, and that's where we're at. Joe was a Chicago city inspector, iron inspector, and he was on those job sites, and he remembers how important it was for the city, how the transformation was very important for the city of Chicago, how the iron workers were in Union Number 1, got the jobs, and they were among other men that were dedicated to these construction projects. I'm asking Joe now, again, if he'll tell us a little bit about his credentials. And Joe, how long were you labor? How many years were you labor? And how long did it take you to become? How many years were you a laborer, and how many years were you a iron inspector?
Okay, so she wants to know what you had to do, what training you had to do to become an iron worker. What are your, but it was different back in the day, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
I started as a rod buster, tying bars on the big silos and grain elevators. That's how I started.
130th Street? By 130th there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I know them.
130th and then 117th Street and 92nd Street. But the ones on 92nd Street, they tore them down.
Okay.
They put them up to get the ships right there early. But then they found out it was no good there, and they needed more tanks. So we went down to 117th Street and Torrance Avenue. You know where Torrance Avenue is? And
yes.
Yeah, we built those there. But we had a problem. It was raining and raining and raining. We worked 7 days, 12 hours around the clock, and in the rain. And one of our guys left this area, and they didn't put no reinforcing bars in that area. So when they loaded it up with grain, that soft spot was there, it blew the tank right into the river. And all the grain came into the river. Then we had a big amount of rats coming there to eat the grain. Then we had that whole area was condemned.
Okay, so what did you have to do to become an iron worker?
I had to tie rods, rebar.
It's going on and off.
Oh, you can't hear me. Can you hear me?
He had to do he started out tying rods. Can you hear him, Sharon?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yes,
okay.
we had a miscommunication. I think my internet is going on and off.
It is.
So
the connection it's not. It doesn't seem to be a good connection.
Okay, but I am hearing your voice.
Okay.
But my video cuts out. So if we continue, I can still hear and talk to you, but my video is shady.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Tying rods.
I went from rebar to structural.
Okay.
Skyway. They needed connectors.
Yes.
So I went to work on the Skyway for American Bridge. See, I worked all through that whole bridge. I worked from one end to the other end with Bethlehem. And that's how I started. I just went out and was able to walk that iron.
So how many years were you an iron worker before you became the inspector?
Oh, I really had about 25 years before I came to inspector.
So he worked as a structural iron worker with Local 1 for about 25 years before he became the city iron inspector.
Okay. So he was more than aware of anybody in city of Chicago that is aware of how they put those rods together, what it takes to keep that crew going on the job with specs, with professional people. Because you were professional and you knew the difference between a loafer and a guy who dedicated himself.
Well,
You made sure your crew got the job done the right way, right, Joe?
right. We had I had a lot of experience with the smokestack, and there was a woman found in one of her condos on Belmont and Lakeshore Drive. She was found dead.
Right.
So they knew it was from carbon dioxide from the furnace. So I had to go look to see where the leak was. Right? And I was in Acapulco, Mexico on vacation when they called me. They said the insurance company will pay you extra. We need you to go find a leak. So I had to go down about 17 floors before I found her, before I found the leak. And I had to bleed all that carbon dioxide out of the boiler room and out of the furnace in the wintertime and switch the smoke from the furnace to go through the other building and out their chimney. And nobody knew how to do that. And I showed them how to do that. And the guys from the city came in and they told me that the commissioner wanted to see me. So I went and see him and I told him, I says, you know what? All of the smokestacks in this city need to be inspected. So that's where it started. Carbon monoxide poisoning.
Wow.
So that's how I got started. And I was the only one that ever went on smokestacks for inspections. I got to know all the contractors.
So you went inside them, Dad?
Yeah,
Wow.
nobody would do it.
Nobody would go inside them. So
No.
so that's how you became the inspector?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I went down in there. And I said, I'll go down in there and check and let's find the leak. And I said, okay. So I got me a tank of oxygen
Mm-hmm.
and I made me a mask. See, like we're doing now.
Mm-hmm.
And I went down in there and I found a leak. It was a rivet. The old days, they used to put rivets, and we don't do that no more. Rivets to connect them. And one of the enforcing bars got loose and it started shaking. So when it was shaking, the rust coming down the chimney from the top wore out the rivet head. The rivet head, like a button, and it just kept working out. The rust.
It's round.
Yeah.
It's round on the top.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wore it out, and then by the stack being shaken in the wintertime, because it's February, the high winds, it popped the rivet head out, and the furnace was still burning, and the smoke, the little leak, I told it to her, the leak into this lady's apartment where they found her dead with carbon dioxide. That's how it started. So I had my job because the commissioner gave me the privilege of doing all the city. So I went around looking for carbon dioxide leaks, even with the water heaters.
Mm-hmm.
See, because they're on gas. Anything in gas going out of the building, they gave me a meter, a box, where it tells you if there's leaking in the basement. I go in the basement, check it. And then what I do is I open a trap door at the bottom of the stack that's on the floor, and I look for the piling. If it's a pointy pile of rust, it's because the last 18 feet on the top of the stack is wearing out. And all that stuff is piling up at the bottom. I had to get in trouble and dig it all out. And that cost the smokestack to get thinner. It's 1/4-inch steel. And it wears out slowly. And then it breaks or rots out. And then you got problems. That's where we come in. Take them down.
You said Okay, you said that they don't use those kind of
No, we
connections no more. What are they using nowadays? Do you know?
welding machines, welding machines. You weld it. You got to be
They-
certified welder. We do.
So you have to do it by hand.
They weld it now instead of using the bolts.
Instead of
So they have.
the rivets.
Yeah, so hence the boiler makers, they are welders.
Yeah.
You know, iron workers are welders. So instead,
Yes.
you know, if they don't use the bolts, then they weld it.
Yeah, we
That's-
have to ride a Bosun chair with ropes. You lower yourself up, and then you weld.
Okay.
And then through the chair, the rope goes down between your legs. Your guys on the bottom have to pull you away from the stick so you can get into it. It's a lot of different things you got to do when you're in a chair. See, besides burning, welding, riveting, bolting up, that's what you have to do. And that's on smokestacks. And besides structure, we do get structure, we get the fire escapes. Because of the counterweight, the middle of the bolt, on that counterweight on the fire escape, it rusts away. And I take a big beater and I hit it, and if the counterweight falls, because there's nothing there holding it no more. It rotted out, the bolt
Right.
or the rivets. Then we make them put new bolts in that. Or the channel rots out too. The channel that carries the stairs down, that rots
Right.
out. See, so I used to take them from the bottom with my rope and my hook and throw it up there and grab it from the side, from the street level and bring it down and shake it. And one guy, I told him to do that, and he didn't. He went and walk it down. Instead, the thing broke. It busted away from the wall. The anchors.
Oh,
to the
geez.
wall, it was just bricks. Then I told him, on the inside of the wall, you got to put a big steel plate with a hole, put it in the bolt, and that plate, the wall will hold. They didn't have it. You just stick them in between the bricks and put the mud, and then they figured it's going to hold it. So no, so I told them guys, Local 63 has the job of doing the fire escapes. That's the ornamental. So I thought Local 1 took over because I told them, these guys don't check the stairs, the rebar, but there's rods in there.
Right.
When you hit the iron, in between them, it rusts and it breaks away. And the bar that's holding it is no good either. It's all rusted up from the rain and the snow hanging up in there. Yeah, that's the stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what happened over the years. All of those elevator shafts.
The first building I worked on,
Yeah.
it was the Prudential building downtown on Randolph Street. And when we did that job, a guy by the name of, I'm trying to think of his name.
We don't need names.
Yeah. He was around a long time. He did the antenna. And he said, this is going to be the tallest building in Chicago. And we
Yes.
did the antenna. See, I worked on him with that too.
Yeah. That was the only building when I was a kid. Yeah.
When I was doing other buildings downtown, like the Daily Center, I did the Daily Center from the basement up, the Daily Center.
Daily Center.
And I told the the commissioner called me in and he asked me about how long I've been in Chicago, Local 1, ironworkers. And I said,
No names.
I said, I can't remember. He said, no. I said, because I started without no book, no permit. I was the first Mexican iron worker in Local 1.
Yeah. I believe that. That was the 60s. What, 60s?
Yeah.
We're talking the 60s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But you were good, Joe. That's why they made you inspector.
Let's talk about the job.
That's where I met, I saw they asked me if I knew these guys. I said, yeah, Zuccarelli. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a good guy.
Did a good job.
He was a great friend of my uncle's. Yeah.
That's what, your uncle.
Yeah, he was a good friend of my uncle's. Okay, now I want to bring you, I have a question for you, Joe. Okay. I want to get into what you had to have when you go on the job site. What was your gears? What did you had to have a helmet, you had to have your hammer, you had to have the belt chains to go up.
The company furnishes the helmets.
So what
The
did you have to,
company furnishes our helmets.
yeah, but what did you have to wear to perform your job?
Oh, whatever.
Before you got on the job site.
Well, the rod busters at that time didn't have the reels. We used to carry the wire around our neck and feed it off of that. Then they made these cast iron reels to put the wire in there, and they made the wire come to the job site in a box, all stacked up and ready to roll. All you gotta do is replace it and use it as you go. And that's what they're doing here today. And the other one is wherever you went, the guys already had the belts from keeping the tools that the company give us. We never give them back. Like American Bridge was finished with the belt with a spud wrench, 2 spud wrenches. You got to get your own crescent wrench. Sleever bar, a beater, bolt pins, jet pins. What else?
How about steel toe boots?
Pardon?
No, they don't wear
Steel toe boots.
They don't wear steel toe boots, only
No.
on certain jobs, but
No.
it would be more
Red
the
Wings.
sole of the boot had to be the flat type, like it couldn't have it had to be the wedge.
No heel.
No heel.
Oh,
No heel.
wow.
Heel gets
See, I
caught.
didn't know that.
The heel gets caught on the iron.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. See, I didn't know that. Okay.
Well, we use the regular Red Wings because it's good to climb the iron and to slide down the iron. To climb around when you walk around the iron, like connected, which I always did. I could slide 40-foot columns. Slide 40 foot down.
Like a fireman.
It's like a fireman.
On a
Wow.
pole.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't do that anymore.
No,
See-
they got forklifts, like a forklift.
They have lifts now. See,
lifts.
back in the day, they would climb
Right.
iron,
Yeah.
climb
Yes.
up and down and
With all the
everything.
weight.
Now that's not the case. Now they have to go up and over.
Oh, God. Yeah, sure. We had to pay our dues in the ironworking business, didn't they, Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like
Yeah.
it used to be.
Yeah. And then we had 2 bags that like that, bolt nub and connectors. We carried 2 different size bolts. See, the straight, but the regular connecting from one beam to another beam is about 2 1/4. And then if you have to go through the column, and inside of the column, where the 2 beams going connecting, and the other beams, you get 2 3/4 bolts going through the longer ones, so where you can pull it up, and then throw into the flat plate. But yeah, you got all the extra weight on your belt. That's
Yeah.
the other thing. See, and what else is
Hard hat.
Okay. Let's see. My next question is, I want to take you all the way back to the Robert Taylor homes.
Yeah, I was saying Robinson.
Okay. I want to read in a little bit of research that I did. Just give me a minute. I'm going to read this into the record. Okay, this is a quote from one of the companies that I did research on. They did articles. This is the quote is from the www.blackpost.org.african-american-history-Robert Taylor Homes-Chicago-Illinois 1959-2005, quote, ironically, Chicago officials chose to name the complex of the Robert Taylor homes despite the fact that Robert Taylor, who died in 1957, would have opposed them because they intensified racial segregation, unquote. Okay, several of the articles on the internet are talking about all the faulty design of, there were 4,339 units in the 3 buildings in the Robert Taylor homes, and 27,000 people they stuffed in those buildings, okay? All people who were below poverty levels. That's what it ended up going into those buildings. Chicago tried to eliminate the racial tensions with good intentions, but that happened to be opposite. So when you were an iron inspector and you saw those, you were there, Joe, you saw all those personal experiences. As time went on, as the people start being in the buildings, they couldn't even let the police go in there. They couldn't even let the firemen go in there. I read all these stories that they even had to be escorted into the buildings because of all the gangs and all the, there was no buses that were down the street, that was right on the street where the Robert Taylor homes were. There were no buses, there was no transportation, there was no stores, there was no, nothing that made civilization there better for these people. Okay, so what I'm asking you now is, did you know that these sites that they picked, you worked on all these sites, okay? Did any of the, when the union workers were going there and they were getting the jobs ready, it was the job of the union workers to go over the specs for the city, the architects for the city. All those guys have to do that before your job goes into effect. And then you get the specs and then you put them together and you're the iron inspector and you go out there and make sure the guys do the job right. So when you see that some of these things are wrong, you know, like if the equipment is bad, or if some guy didn't have his helmet on when he went up there, I'm sure, Joe, that you would say that stop, go get your helmet, right?
How were they on safety back then, Joe, Dad? It wasn't like it was, they really weren't stringent then like they are now. You know, now they have what, OSHA, or is it OSHA that comes out?
OSHA.
But back in the day, they didn't have that.
Yeah. We didn't know city inspectors.
Okay, but
No city.
okay,
They did
by
well,
the time, Joe,
safety guys coming out and making sure you guys were wearing helmets and stuff?
No.
No. Not back then. Now, I mean, right, Dad?
Yeah, they got it first. The company.
okay,
But back then, no.
No.
So American Bridge would give you a
Okay.
belt, but they wouldn't give you a helmet?
Yeah, they give you a
Oh,
helmet.
they would give you a helmet.
But it's the AB on American Bridge.
Okay, so the company
Right.
would supply.
Yeah, American Bridge is. We had steel mills, they had Skyway, they
Okay,
had all the bridges.
did all the steel companies or construction companies supply that for you?
Yeah,
So the helmet and
it's
that.
just like it's in the contract.
Okay, but then nobody required you to wear it?
No, until yes, we had some injuries. They were dropping bolts and stuff like that. The guys, that's why they wore them. To get their voice. A guy slips with his sleeper bar, you know, his back,
Mm-hmm.
and it falls. You're gonna get killed.
Mm-hmm.
oh, see, yeah.
Yeah.
I see what you mean, yeah. Okay, I have another question. Okay, when the job comes to you, Joe, and you get the specs of what you got to get.
What?
You're breaking up, Sharon. We're losing you again.
We lost you.
Uh-oh. Did we lose you? Darn it.
I'm back.
Okay, good.
It's got, I think it's on my side. My internet keeps on turning off for some reason.
Yeah, we don't have real good internet because we have plaster walls.
This is going great.
Okay. Okie doke.
Joe, hi, Joe.
Boy.
Joe. Thank you, Joe. I love you, Joe.
Yeah, it goes all the time.
Okay, before we lose connection.
Yesterday was my, oh, we're on? Okay.
Okay, yeah. Ready? Hello? Can you hear us, Sharon?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay, Joe. Okay, what I would like to go back to the question. The question is, when you go on your job site, they already gave you the specs. They already gave you all the things that had to be done. And you take those specs and you go to the guys and you tell them what needs to be done, right?
The blueprints.
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. I wanted to ask you, because what I'm saying is that everything was done over your head. The city planners, the city architects, the plumbers, the electricians, and you're number one on the job. You're the iron workers. You're out there first on the job. You're making sure that everything is done so these other guys can come in and finish their job, right?
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So you know my Uncle Sonny. You know Walter Ivanhoe. He was an iron worker. He was an iron worker on your team. He was a family man. He was my mother's brother, the oldest brother in my family.
Right.
And you knew my Uncle Victor,
Yeah.
Vic Novakovich, tow truck guy. You know my dad, Frank.
Yeah.
You knew all the people in my life.
Right.
My Uncle Sonny was very important. He was the oldest in my family. Okay, when he went on the job that day, he wore his helmet.
Right.
Okay.
Crushed it.
He was a laborer for many years. He worked as a laborer and as an iron worker for many years. He worked with the politicians of the area. He knew all the precinct captains. He
Oh. She's not coming through.
I know.
This is back.
okay.
All right, now you're back.
I'm back. Okay. So everything was in place on the job to make a beautiful building. Everybody was going to make Mayor Daley's dreams come true. He was the mayor at that time. Mr. Vidoliak, my friend, he was the alderman sometime later. And the bosses got together and they planned this and everything was running smoothly. So
She's off. She's off. We lost her.
Are you there?
okay.
Okay.
I'm back.
All right.
Okay, I wanted to ask you, how much money did an iron worker make? How much money about did a labor work make in those days, back in the day? $10, $15, hourly money.
How much did you get paid back then, Dad?
I think it was about $15. Yeah, I think it was about that.
Say
15.
it louder so we could hear.
Yeah, it was just starting.
Tell her so she could hear.
Oh, yeah, I think it was around $15 we were making at that time.
And that was good money, right?
Yeah, that was good money because
And
I started out at two and a quarter. when I
two and a
started.
quarter.
2 1/4 iron working, putting rebar, reinforcing bars. But
Okay.
we made contracts, and we did a couple of strikes, and they started paying us every time the operators would get a raise, we go along right with them. Because we can't run the job without an operator. See, so it was around $15, and when I finally started learning that we can get more money. I think right now, what's the scale? $50? Cindy,
Okay.
What?
what's the scale up? About $50?
Now, yeah, I think it's about $50
Yeah.
an hour.
Yeah,
But by the
Yeah.
time, but now with the all of the benefits, it comes out to about $100 an hour.
yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's my next question. How long did you have to work on the job before you got your health benefits?
Right away. As soon as you start the first hour, your benefits start right there.
So
I
you
go to
knew
work.
that all your guys,
Your company, I go to work for you, and your company will start paying my benefits as soon as I start working the first hour. First 8 hours, I'm paid. I drag up at the end of the day, or I go in for only for one day. They gotta give me my check right on the job.
okay.
That's bullshit.
So you got benefits.
Oh, we'll mail it to you. No. My money keeps making money by the hour. We want a check right now, and they would go bring it right away. Right away, they bring the checks. They make timekeeper.
Okay. Wow, that's good.
Yeah,
You didn't have to wait for your money.
yeah, right. You don't waste your
Okay.
money.
Right. Okay. And you had a good insurance.
Right, we're covered.
Yes, the insurance is the best.
Yeah,
When you go to a doctor, they see that you have the
look,
local one iron workers insurance. That's what they say, that
Yeah.
it's the best insurance,
Yeah,
even for the
CIO.
eye, for the dental, for the medical.
yeah,
Okay. And the union usually worked out a better contract because they're the ones who demanded all those things. In the 60s, we had to go to the union, and they had to negotiate better for the contracts for the iron workers, for the laborers. Everybody worked together and everybody was for each other, right?
right.
Right. Okay.
Absolutely. The unions are what set our work conditions to this day.
That's right. That's right. Thank God for the unions.
Yeah. I mean, you wouldn't get breaks, you wouldn't get vacation time, you wouldn't get, you know what I mean? All of those conditions,
They pay
safety.
for pregnancy. Your wife has a baby, they give you money there too.
Yeah, you're covered with your health
Yeah.
insurance, but work conditions are set by the unions, whether you're
Standards.
union or not,
Yes.
you know?
Yes. Yeah. Okay, now I'm going to take you back to that day. Briefly, I know this is a very tender subject for everybody, and Judy's family and Randy and all those people. My uncle's children are watching this because Judy died. We were going to do this story together, but I'm going to follow up and I'm doing the story. That's why my heart is into it so much. I want to know, my uncle was walking across the field.
Sharon, we're losing you.
Or I'm
No,
not
we didn't
30
hear
feet.
you.
It was dropped from 100 and some.
Sharon, do it again because we didn't hear you from the beginning. You said your uncle and then it cut out.
Okay. My uncle was walking across the job site on the ground. There was a crane that was lifting up a 15-pound billet. The crane snapped, or the chain snapped. It fell and hit my uncle in the back of his head, and he had a helmet on. All the guys rushed to him. They took him to Mercy Hospital. They did emergency surgery on him, and they had to take that helmet. They had to surgically remove the helmet from the back of his head, and the back of his neck by the spine was crushed. They said he would never wake again. And the union stepped up to the plate right away, Joe. You were there. The union fought. We went to court. All those guys testified in court. All the union stuck up for my uncle.
I didn't go.
Well, all the other guys went. There was a lot of guys who ended up going to court and testifying that day.
Oh.
And I remember
They lost,
that when Uncle,
they lost a gooseneck.
a
They lost
gooseneck, that's what it was. A gooseneck.
Pipe fitting into another pipe with a well hanging off with a rope. Now, if they would have left the rope down on the ground, the man wouldn't have lost it. But the weight with the rope hanging that low, that far down, that's how he lost it, tipped over. He had his hands on it, he was going to put it in like this over another pipe. But with the weight of the rope on the well sticking out of it, out like that, it was too much for that man to hold up. And he lost it. The thing, you know, when you lose it and you can't yell fast enough, he dropped that big ass piece of pipe about that long, about 4 feet long. That's what landed on his head. But he was bending over, getting the cables and straightening out, getting ready for the next lift. He didn't even know it was coming. He didn't even know he just lost the damn gooseneck, we call it. See, with all that weight on it. He took the rope, left the rope down on the ground. I don't think he would have lost it. See,
It was
that's how I was there. A couple of weeks. I said, he can't handle it. He can't handle it. He says, put the rope on too. I said, oh shit, that's gonna be weighting heavy. Because nobody could get in that corner but him. We're on the scaffold plank. And I was right on the deck looking right at him when I saw him. I said, oh, he can make it. He can make it. He wasn't strong enough. Like Wally was strong. Zook gave up and lost it.
okay.
Did we lose you, Sharon? We lost you again, Sharon?
Can't hear you.
Okay, we lost connection again. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
I remember you when I was young, Joe. I remember you telling my mother to go to court and fight for this. I remember you, Joe. That's why I had to find you.
Okay.
I wanted to get answers because it bothered me all these years. You know, and I remember Uncle Sonny in the hospital, and I said on my pre-recording that the doctors used to say that he was unconscious for 5 years and he didn't communicate. He actually was able to see pretty soon because they did the eye wave, and he was able to, his eyes were following. So they assessed his able to view, but they said he couldn't understand. So my grandmother challenged that, and she said that he did understand because he could move his left finger when he said no, and could move his right finger when he answered yes. And we tested him by asking him different questions, like saying, what was the name of your daughter? Was it Gloria? Was it Susie? And he would answer with his left hand, no. And then when I asked him if it was Judy, he would run his right hand would say yes. So I myself made a promise to my uncle. I was very young, and I told him that he wouldn't have to worry about his kids because I was old enough. I was going to make sure that they heard the truth. And
She's off. She's gone. I mean, she's.
I know, it keeps doing that. Stop that. Hate that noise. Stop that.
She's calling you.
No. Hello? I'm sorry?
Hello?
Hi.
Is it Cynthia?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Hi, this is Becky from St. John the Baptist Church.
Hi.
Hi, we're just calling all our parishioners and checking in and seeing how they're doing
Peter.
during this shut-in time.
Yeah, Jamie called me this morning.
Oh, she did?
Yes.
Hey, I had you on my list.
Oh, yeah, well, she called me.
Oh, okay.
But
Well, then,
I'm glad she did because now I found out about the online service for Sunday, so that's
Oh,
great.
yeah.
I'm glad. Yeah, so called me. Thank you.
oh, okay, never mind. We're here.
thank you. Take care.
You too. Stay safe.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hi, are you there?
No.
Very emotional for me. Okay, let's get on to the next subject.
He's off again.
I wanted to talk a little bit about my time with my uncle in the hospital. I remember going to Mercy Hospital. That was the greatest hospital in Chicago at the time for accidents like this magnitude, where they had to have special surgeons and special people because his heart they were worried about his heart. They were worried about everything in his body shutting down. And little by little, for 5 years, my grandmother and my grandfather took me when I was in grammar school back every other day to the hospital. For 5 years, I can remember, as he got better, we had more hope. When he answered more questions, we thought he was going to come out of it. Well, he never did. And he had grand mal seizures, blood transfusion, operations after operations. I remember all the union guys filling up the hospital room and coming in. They even had to tell them they had to come in one at a time because too many guys were in at the same time. I remember the courtroom when we were going to court. I was so young. I listened to that judge and I listened to them going, hey, talking about all the accidents and all those things. I used to have nightmares listening to them arguing and trying to figure out what the hell happened on that construction site because I was so young, I couldn't understand. But it made such an impact on me that I knew that I had to explain it to my grandmother and grandfather who could understand less than I could at the time. So it was $1 million, $1 million they sued. I have the newspaper articles and I put them in the video. When it was excruciating to go through that trial for my family, my grandmother, my grandfather, it killed them. He died, the day he died, I was there. My grandmother held him. Uncle Sonny took his last breath. And I swear I would find answers. And that's why I'm here today. It's only one of the stories that I did all the research on. The next story that I want to get to is a lady who was involved in doing research inside her college days, went there. She was a photographer and she went inside the projects and she'd take pictures of all the all the hallways, and you're going to see that in the video. She took pictures of the way the outside of the railing was not a railing; it was fence from outside chicken coop. That's how she explained it. That the people felt that they were in cages. I have pictures of the inside of that building, and all of the walls were concrete. If you wanted to hang a picture on that wall, you had to put a hole through that concrete, cinder blocks they called it. Some of the floors never got drywall, and the drywall they got was made of asphalt. So I mean, I could go on and on and on and on and on about the complications that happened with the people that lived in those buildings. But that's not why I'm here today. I'm here today to say that there were other accidents, terrible accidents. Those buildings were destroying people's lives, and the time that it took for the city to figure that part out was after they couldn't let the police in there, they couldn't let the firemen in there. They had to have all these people, each part of them, some of them got out. She chronically listed the people that were robbed, raped, hidden, or terrorized because the gangs start, shaking them down for money, making their kids do drug runs. Everything in those buildings were out of control. The gangs took over. Then the gangs took over and fought themselves. But she went in there and she wrote the story. Her name is Rachel Maddow. She's a reporter, and she did a whole series on just this woman's book. And they took the picture of the girl that was swinging. That's in my video. She was sitting there. They put a little park. The park had a cement floor. They put a little park for the kids up in the high raises, and this woman went over there and took a picture. That day, when she walked away, she got jumped, robbed, beaten, raped. But she wrote, the photographer, the girl that went in there to do this report for school, her story was on Rachel Maddow. And then that happened, and then the only one other story that made me cry my eyes out, Joe, was this young girl. She was at Midway Airport, okay? Long story short, she was at Midway Airport, and she was waiting for a plane. She missed her plane. She called her father and said, I missed my plane. She was all upset. And her father said, okay, there's a hotel down the road. I'm going to get you a hotel. You're going to go to that hotel, stay the night. I'll get you another plane ticket in the morning. Go get your plane in the morning. She said, okay. So she ended up going to her hotel room. She went to sleep. She called her dad up. Her dad's in California. And she asked her dad, okay, I'm going to go to the airport, Midway, and I'll see you soon. That was the last time they talked to her. She got on a bus from the hotel. She went to the airport, and they said in the newspaper articles that she was standing on the CTA bus terminal, and she was aggravating people, yelling at people. They said she even flipped up and showed a little titty. They said all kinds of terrible things about her, that she was exposing herself. She was bad. She was out of it. So the police came, arrested her. She missed her plane. They took her to Wentworth. No, they took her to Lawndale, or vice versa. They took her to one of the police departments. They locked her up. They called her father and said, your daughter is acting irrational. Meanwhile, she's in there and she's screaming, let me go to the hospital. Let me go to the hospital. She was going into some kind of anxiety attack. Well, Wentworth Police Department took her over to Lawndale by the Robert Taylor homes, wherever that is, okay? And they called her father up, and they told her father said, please, let her go catch a plane or whatever. There was some communication that was broke down. They let her go. Out of the police department, she started walking down the street. She went to some kind of a store or to get some food or get a drink. And 5 or 6 guys talked her into going back to Robert Taylor Homes to the 7th floor. Then they raped her, beat her, held her for a few days, and threw her out of the 7th floor building, and she fell straight down and survived. Smashed her head. Joe,
Wow.
people called up. They took her to the hospital.
Oh,
Long story short, her father and mother flew in from California. They sued the police department. They sued the city of Chicago for $1 million. And then they had her in one of the hospitals down here for rehabilitation. She never came out of it. They took her back to California. She's still in rehabilitation. Our new mayor, Ramanel Emanuel, just gave her family $22.5 million more because this young lady has to spend her rest of her life in a coma.
Wow. Wow.
That I put that video in there because my uncle worked on that building. That was the building that my uncle got hurt on. And when I did my research, Joe, it's called The Hole. That was the last building, and that's my next video. I found the video that demolition crew went out there. Maybe you would know about it, but the demolition crew went out there and they smashed down that video. And I sat there and watched that video with those construction balls, because that's what they did in the old days. They took those big balls and they smashed them against the building. And every time that ball hit that building, I remembered every tear that came out of my uncle's eyes. I seen her family cry over the same kind of accident at that building.
Wow.
oh, wow.
No good came out of those buildings.
That's my point, okay? And they were not insured. If they were insured, my uncle would have had a better life. My cousin would have had a better life. My aunt, Marianne, would have never had the struggle that she had to go through. There's so many unanswered questions. That gets me to the next point. Okay, the next point, Joe, is when I went to court. All my life, I studied as a paralegal. I'm a certified paralegal. I was certified at the Roosevelt University. I went to school to find answers, Joe. I had to find answers. So many of these cases have torn me apart inside, okay? The 1960s were tough. The gangs took over all those buildings, okay? It was, Joe, today is May Day. May Day, Joe, okay? I'm here to stir up the shit. I'm here because today's May Day, and my cousin's birthday was the other day, and this lady, her name is Christina Ellman. She was in Chicago this week, Joe. It's ironic that it took me all my life to find her story, to match it up with my uncle's story. And find that it's this week. Isn't that ironic? This week, she came to Chicago on May 6, 2006. So between 1963 and 2006, if it wasn't for her family to come and fight the city of Chicago, would they ever have torn down the Hole? I got questions I know you can't answer, but I hope that when I put this video out there, there's going to be somebody that could help me get the answers. Okay? Let me get on to the next question. Okay. In 60s, we all faced the race riots. I got knocked in the head one time by a race riot in Calumet Park. It's terrible. That's another chapter. Okay. Getting back to, after I did my research, Joe, I found all these questions, and I decided that I was going to do something to get my answers, because it destroyed my family, and I never knew why, and I had to live with it. Judy and Randy, my cousins, we had to live with it. They wouldn't even let me see Judy anymore. My family broke apart. After that court case, after we lost in the appellate court said that the insurance did not cover my uncle's accident. The appellate court didn't care if my uncle was hurt. The appellate court decided that the insurance policy did not cover the guys on that job. They had an insurance policy that excluded the guys on that job. How could that happen? I'm sure if the union would have known about that, they would have never went through with all these jobs. And then if that's what this decision was, then how many other men got hurt on those jobs of the city of Chicago? All those buildings, you know, I read all those reports in my research. I never found one that tabulated how many men were hurt on all those projects and how many of them were denied that insurance policy. They said were not covered. I read the appellate court decision, and I even had to go on find a lawyer to interpret it for me because I could not even believe that that happened. Why then? Where were Uncle Sonny's lawyers? How come Uncle Sonny's lawyers didn't appeal to the Supreme Court? How come we didn't keep on fighting? I know it devastated my family. My uncle was lost. He was a father. He was a husband. He was a brother. He was my uncle. What happened to the union? Why did this happen? I'm going to find the answers. I'm going to dig it out. I'm going to find somebody who's going to hear me. You know, that wasn't right, Joe. Uncle Sonny got the shaft, you know, and then after that, our whole family got the shaft. My mother had a struggle. We had to take care of my grandmother and grandfather. They were so sick. They were already old. They were devastated. It killed my grandfather. He had several conditions after that. Then it destroyed Judy. Judy lost it. Judy ran away. My next video after you was our Loho Eagle. That's why I wanted to ask you, you know, a little bit more about the planes because you know so much about airborne. We took a small airplane. My mother hired a pilot from the Lansing airport. She went there and she got our Loho Eagle to put me in a plane and go from Chicago all the way to Colorado Springs to find Judy because she ran away from home. She hitchhiked, Joe, in the 60s.
Yeah.
She lost it. She left home, left everything. Her mother bought her a Mustang with that money and she crashed it. She got a little bit of money out of that. They got her a Mustang, a 65 beautiful Mustang, Joe. It was so nice. And she smashed it to smithereens. And then she ran away to Colorado. So our Loho Eagle took me in that 2-seater plane and we flew from Lansing Airport all the way to Colorado Springs. And I was trying to get a hold of him. Right now he's in South Dakota. And I'm waiting for his interview. And I was trying to remember what kind of plane it was because it shook. And I was scared as hell. But Joe, I was never in a 2-seater plane. I thought I was going to crash. I mean, all the way there, Joe, but I had my balls together, Joe. And I did it. And someday we got to go diving. If we ever could put that together, I'm going to go dive with you and Cindy. If we ever could do that.
Definitely.
But anyway, this
We
2-seater.
make our way, Sharon, when I make our way to Colorado in our RV, because that's probably going to be our first destination once this COVID ends.
Yeah, bro.
We'll try to find an airport and go.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, we'll put it on our bucket list.
Put it on the bucket list.
Okay. So my mother hired Eagle to take me to Colorado Springs, and we ended up going to Colorado Springs Airport. our Loho Eagle is 100% Indian, and he's the ex-officer, law officer, and he was an officer for, I think, around some suburb out there, but he was a cop before. And then he went and his job was to fly these airplanes around and take pictures of train accidents that crashed. And he took off work because we had a deadline. We had to get out there. We didn't know along the way if she was going to be kidnapped, dead, or whatever. We just figured we'd get to Colorado Springs and find her. And that's what we did. It took us almost a week. My mother sent more money. My mother was always, making sure that Judy was safe, because we always communicated. We used to hide in Clyde Avenue, over there by Pill Hill. We used to hide in the alley, and I used to go sneak. To go see her, and we used to sneak by the garbage can, and I'd wave to the window. She'd be watching for me. I'd send somebody in. Just a couple of years ago, we took a video. Her and Judy and I went back to that neighborhood. We went to her house, and we went down the alley that we used to sneak to go see each other, because we were going to write this book together. And do you know that neighborhood? The 93rd and Cregier is monitored. I had a video of us walking down the street, walking past her house, 9312, whatever it is, Cregier. And here comes a white cop and a black cop down the street going, "What are you two ladies doing in this neighborhood?" They thought we were going to try to cop for drugs. And I had my camera out, and we videoed them, and they come over and said, "What are you doing in this neighborhood?" I said, "We're just reminiscing. We're just going down and I told him the story. We're just going down the street where she used to live." He said, "Well, get the hell out of here."
You live across the,
Did he really?
Yeah, I got a video of them telling me.
You live across the alley from Danny's Cabinets. Remember Danny?
I remember Danny's Cabinet Company.
Yeah,
He's in my story.
Yeah, you were right across the alley from, yeah.
Yeah, he had right down the street, he had another company.
Yeah,
He moved on Commercial Avenue, and then he had one on that side street with the hot dog joint.
yeah.
Hot dog joint. I don't remember that.
Yeah,
Anyways,
he used to chase me all around because he wanted me to cut down trees in that lot. And
yeah.
all the trees down so he could put the foundation. Because I had the chainsaws. And I wouldn't do it because I had too many on the list.
Yeah.
He could pay for it. So he went to Eddie. And Eddie called me in. And go cut them trees in this guy's lot on Commercial. I said, "Yeah, I got so many guys. He can get Ace Landscaping to do it with his guys from all the DP carpenters he got." Yeah.
DP.
Steel saws. He had a big operation. He was selling them cabinets like crazy to the suburbs.
Oh yeah.
And installing them. He had that big ass truck. I told him I needed to hang some signs, the big sign ready. He let me have it. I used it for about a week. I drove that big ass truck. I took it to the gas station, and he paid for the gas. I just signed the tickets.
He was a good guy.
He was a good guy, and his son, I think, was a lawyer.
Yes, he was a lawyer.
Yeah, his son was a lawyer.
Yeah. So, okay, getting back to the video number 3, okay, is our Loho Eagle is the pilot that took me to Colorado Springs. Finally, it took us a week later. Finally, we found somebody that heard that Judy was with a girl who got a job in Manitou Springs. They got a job at a bar, and Judy was a hostess, serving drinks and everything. So Eagle and I found out. We walked in that bar, and it was all over. I told Judy she needed to come home. Her family loved her. And it took me at least another week to convince her. But then on that 2-seater plane, we got back to the Lansing airport.
Wow.
We put one of those, I don't know what you call the booster seats, whatever, in the back.
Yeah.
And we took Judy home with us.
Wow.
Okay, it was a good ending.
Yeah.
Of course, her life continued with tragedy after tragedy, but you know what? We all have tragedies that you can't control in our life. I have my own. Okay, so now I want to talk about my mother's restaurant on Torrance Avenue, 100 in Torrance, across the street from Skyway Bowling Alley. I want to know if you remember coming into Mary's Coffee Shop for coffee. We had one of the counters. We made a deal with the people that bring in the jukeboxes and put the little jukeboxes on the countertop. Judah and I used to be waitresses. You know, it was a shine up, peeled potatoes for French fries.
Yeah.
Everything you had to do in old restaurants from the olden days. It was a lot of fun. It was Uncle Vic had the tow truck business.
Yeah.
Okay, in my video right after your story is Uncle Victor when he was in the tow truck business, when he was towing for the city of Chicago, and he
I was on the corner when that thing exploded, and he got burnt. When I grabbed him, and I took him to the hospital, to where they shipped him to downtown, to where he got burnt to skin. All was burnt. Yeah.
his whole body was burnt.
What happened is he had a leaking truck right there. He was parked on a corner, and somebody came by with a cigarette. Instead of putting it out, they threw it out of the car, because I saw it. And the thing, boom, it went off. And he got burnt, and I grabbed him. I took him to the hospital right away. Yeah.
He was in the hospital for 5 years, Joe.
Yeah, I know. I took him to the hospital. His skin was all burnt.
He looked like a monster. Do you remember how black?
Yeah.
His whole head was like 3 times the size. I remember when I was a little girl, I was so scared. I freaked out. His whole head, I couldn't see his eyes no more. I couldn't see his lips no more. His ears were gone. His ears burnt away. They had a graft between his
I
legs.
thought he was going to die there. But I grabbed him. I took him to Chicago Hospital, and they shipped him to the burning unit.
It's Cook County Hospital, burn unit.
Yeah.
The best in the country.
Yeah.
Saved his life. He almost died, Joe.
Yeah.
It took 5 years to get him out. I remember visiting him. They had him in a tub of solution. And the only thing that was available was his eyes and his mouth. He could breathe, but they had him soaking in this tub. Oh, God.
Wow. Watermelon.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, Rick was a good guy.
You know what? It just dawned on me, Sharon. You get 40 minutes on here, and then it'll cut us off.
Oh, okay. Well, let's get to the end. Are we near the end? Remind me, because I'm losing it. You know, time doesn't mean anything when I'm on my trip here. Okay, how much more time we have?
Does it say on here? Used to say. Where does it say?
Right there.
Okay, Joe, I am going to do more research because I am going to contact some of these other people to get some of these other answers, because it takes a lot of work, you know. And I want to thank you both for your cooperation. And I know I've been hounding you guys to help me, but this is very important because I'm going to find the answers to those cases. And I promised my sister, my cousin Judy, who was like a sister to me, that I was going to get to the bottom of this. And she remembered you, Joe. Yes. Yes. So thank you again. Thank you very much for both of you for your help. And this is only going to be the first interview, because Creative Capital and Telly Awards goes back to my YouTube channel, and they see the progress that I'm making with my interviews and my chapters and my effort to put this to an end. And I've got a lot of chapters ahead of me. I've got a whole storage unit to go through. I've got Uncle Victor's. I'm digging out Uncle Victor's medals from the service. I'm going to show that he was uncle. All my uncles, you can ask the country to send you medals. And so I'm going to order Uncle Victor's medals. I want to order all my uncle's medals as much as you can. You got your medals, Joe?
Yeah,
Yeah?
yeah,
Uncle Victor never got his.
yeah. I earned
You got your medals? They
gold
sent it
card
to
from
you?
yeah, Special Forces, 86
Yeah,
born.
yeah.
I and I was supposed to go to Vietnam, and we went to Fort Campbell, Kentucky. And from Fort Campbell, Kentucky, they told us all guys that speak Spanish to report back to Fort Bragg. I went back to Fort Bragg because I speak Spanish, and they wanted all of us guys to go on the Bay of Pig invasion against Cuba. Yeah, against Castro. And, we got together. We went all the way down to Homestead, Florida, to stay and train. Now, one of the girls was dating Fidel Castro, was going to go with us, and she's going to poison him. But she got killed on a parachute practice jump, so she didn't go. So Spearmint Gum and Zenith Corporation was going to give us 50,000 down and 50,000 if we get back, if we hit Cuba and knock out the runways at the airport so they can't land the planes coming from Colombia or Panama because they're running on empty.
Oh, geez.
Got to buy gas off of Castro. So we blew up the runway so they couldn't land in on the airport, and they had to come around and go back in the water with the load of drugs and $50,000 cash, and that we were going to get from Zenith and Spearmint Gum. Kennedy said not to take the money, and we came back to Fort Bragg, and we took our Green Berets off, and we threw them in a big pile, and we burnt them.
Ah!
Yeah, we didn't get to go to do the invasion because he was pissed off because Zenith Corporation and Spearmint Gum were going to give us 50,000 down and 50,000 when we get back.
Wow.
Back to Florida.
Those were the days, my friend. I wish they never end. I love you, Joe.
The best one I had, this officer, the general of the 82nd Airborne, calls me in his office. This is Sergeant. Yeah, I said, what's up? He said, I'm going to give you 20,000. I want you to go to Mexico, see Capitan Jose Moniz, and Capitan said, Rodriguez said, they got a Russian parachute and bring it back. I'll pay anything to get that Russian parachute. I said, okay. I said, you know what? Yeah, if I can, I'm going to jump it. He says, all right, go ahead. I said, they'll let me. They will. They'll do anything I want to do. So I went back. I went back to Mexico and I jumped the Russian parachute. It had 58 panels. We only jumped 24. Now we only jumped 7. But they had 58 panels. That's the biggest parachute I ever jumped.
Wow. Oh.
Yeah. So I told the general that when I saw him, when I did, I said the Russians don't use reserves like we do. We put the reserve in the front or in the back. They don't use them. It was just one parachute. And I didn't even open it, and it was already packed. And I said, you're going to open it, you crazy man. See what you had. I said, they said there's a parachute in there. I'm going to go out and try it. And I did. I jumped over without no reserve, no D-rings. And I landed in a golf course. And the guy says, what do you use for a spot? I said, that swimming pool. I used a spot for the swimming pool. And from there, I went right into a golf course. I landed it. I had a hard time trying to collapse it because it was dragging me. It's so big. But the sprinkling system and the golf course, they put it on, and the water got on the bottom of the parachute when it was dragging, and it collapsed it. The water. Otherwise, I couldn't collapse.
Oh no, you were dragging it full of water.
Yeah. Nah.
Oh.
That helped me take it down. Yeah.
Oh. Joe, you've been through hell and back, Joe. I want to write your book.
When I come back, and I told them the 2 cabins didn't want the money. They told me, no, take it back to the general. So I go back to the general. I says, sir, here's the money. They didn't want the money. They want this. And I told them what they wanted. And he says, They didn't want it. No, well, you can keep it. I said, no, we're going to have another trip. So he comes to me, he says, what do you think they need? And here's what they want. They know where this mayor and the chief of police they're working in deals with drug pushers. And then so they wanted to get in with them because they sent 100 men, soldiers from the Mexican army to that town. And they all disappeared. They couldn't find nothing. These guys up in the mountains, these cartels, they ambushed them all. Ambushed them and got rid of them. Now in a big ass whole tunnel in the mountains up there. And they threw them all in there. They said, that's the only place. We can't find the helmets, we can't find the guns, we can't find nothing. Nothing, not even the horse. They put them all down in the tunnel, down in the hole. So but that's another one. He told me, well, keep the money. I says, no, I can't. I said, here's what they want. A case of grenades, red burning grenades, a case of frag grenades, 2 rifles with silencers and with best high scopes of 2 football fields. And they want pistols with silencers. Yeah, go down to the armor downstairs. And I told his command sergeant, his name was Pierce, John Pierce. He was my company first sergeant. He said, yeah, Joe. So I go down there in a big ass tunnel where a mountain of just dirt. So it looks like a regular cornfield. But underneath it was all the stuff that was buried. I walked there and said, holy shit.
Holy shit.
I grabbed the rifles, the pistols, and the silencers. I got a case of grenades, red burning grenades, frag grenades, ammunition, bayonets, night vision goggles. Yeah, I took all that across the border to Laredo.
Wow.
They waiting for me. And
Right.
Special letter on my windshield. And everywhere I went, they saluted me. I could get gas for free. I could stay in any hotel for free. Yeah, they gave me a letter, but yeah, I was government issue. Yeah, and I
love you, Joe.
Huh?
I love you, Joe. I love you. I love all your stories. I'm going to write your book. I think Cynthia said we have time. We have just a little bit more time. So
Yeah, it'll just automatically shut us off. So.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, I don't want that to happen. Okay. I want us to be able to end this understanding we're coming to an end.
Okay.
I appreciate, Joe, everything you said to me, and this isn't over. My research isn't done. You just gave me all the confidence I need to keep going and to get my answers, and you just gave me a punch in the arm and motivated me, and I appreciate it, and I thank you and your daughter very much for helping me. I know this is stringent. I know this is hard to do, and I want to win. I want to find my answers, and I want to win.
Good luck, honey. Hope you win.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Are we done?
Mwah.
Bye, honey.
Bye.